Dozens of Palestinian protesters are killed by Israeli forces as the United States opens its embassy in Jerusalem. Hello, I'm Arun Naidu, and this is The Heat. Palestinians erupted in fury today as the United States opened a new embassy in Jerusalem. The Israeli military said the demonstration involved 40,000 people at 13 locations along the Gaza border. According to Gaza's Ministry of Health, at least 90 demonstrators have been killed and more than 11,000 wounded by Israeli forces since protests began on March 30th. For more on today's events, we turn now to CGTN's Yael Lavie in Jerusalem. And Yael, what more do we know about the situation along the border?
Well, definitely the headline coming out of Israel and the Palestinian territories today is the amount of basically the amount of injured and the killed Palestinians on the border in Gaza. Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, along with the Palestinian Authority, have already asked a short while ago for an emergency security council meeting at the United Nations, given the escalation on the border. We're looking at numbers right now, according to Palestinian sources, that would be the Palestinian Health Ministry, of approximately 53 Palestinian demonstrators dead at that southern border with Gaza on the Israeli southern part. Thousands are reported to have been injured, and those clashes were something that Israel expected today. Security forces were on a high alert both on the southern border and within the West Bank, not only since the American president announced his wish to move the embassy to Jerusalem, but also since that date was set, the 14th of May, which is today a very significant date also in Israeli history, one that makes you wonder why it was set for today. That's the day that Israel declared its independence back in 1948, 70 years ago, something that obviously is very much a sore point for the Palestinians. In Gaza, over the course of the last several weeks and months, there were demonstrations every Friday leading up to the border, specifically to protest that move of the embassy to Jerusalem. Obviously, today it all erupted.
Yael, you mentioned the inauguration of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, a very controversial move. There was a ceremony there in the afternoon. Who was there? And perhaps more importantly, who wasn't there?
Right. Well, for the embassy's opening itself, I think the Israelis and the Americans already learned to invite just themselves. It was the Israeli upper echelon, so to speak, and the American delegation. Yesterday, at the Foreign Ministry reception, many European countries made the point of not to attend, specifically France, Germany, Russia. Those are countries, or the EU bloc, the bulk of the EU bloc, that believe that Jerusalem's fate should be decided only after negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis. That's something that the American president clearly steered away from. He unilaterally decided to name Jerusalem the capital of Israel, something that the rest of the world, or basically the Western Hemisphere, does not necessarily recognize. So it's interesting to see how will this also pit the Americans versus the EU bloc and the Israelis. A very, very tumultuous, if not to say delicate situation for Israel at this point.
Thanks, Yael. That's CGTN's Yael Lavie reporting from Jerusalem.